Hey guys, this is Mr. Breen, and in this video I'll be talking about Greek article use, specifically when it's used at the beginning of a clause. So here are a few examples in Greek. So our first sentence is hoi men anthropoi boulontai parenai hoi de apenai. This means the people wish to be present, but some to be absent. Really, we might more accurately translate this as some people wish to be present, but others wish to be absent. So notice here in the first little clause, we have an article followed by a noun just like we're used to. And we have this little post-positive particle there, but we don't worry too much about that. But in our second clause, we have an article but no noun. So we have to assume when we have this article with no noun that it somehow correlates to something that came before it. So in this case, we have sort of a some and then others sort of correlation going on. Our second sentence is ha despotes ton doulon kale, ha de en to agro mene. This means the master calls the slave, but he remains in the field. Here again, we have an article plus a noun, just fine. Article plus noun, just fine. And then in our second clause, we have an article with no noun. We have to rely a little bit on context to help us translate this. So does this ha refer back to the slave, or does it refer back to the master? So we have the master calls the slave. We know that much. But whoever it is remains in the field, and whoever it is remains in the field. I'm just going to take a stab and say it's probably that the slave is staying in the field despite being called. Our final sentence is hoi auturgoi tous bus zetusi hoi de feugusen, and there should be a period there. This is translated, the farmers seek the cows or the oxen, hoi de feugusen, but they flee away. Here we're probably talking about the oxen fleeing, not the farmers. So here's how we do this in English. So here are a few sentences, the first of which is, although the teacher warned the student repeatedly, he still did not listen. Now in Greek, this he would instead be a sort of the, an article, plus de, but in English we can't do that kind of thing. It wouldn't really make sense. In English we use a pronoun instead. He still did not listen. Notice that grammatically speaking, this is still ambiguous. We don't know if the he is the teacher or the student. We have to use sort of our real-world knowledge to understand, although the teacher warned the student repeatedly, he still did not listen, the he is actually referring to the student and not the teacher. The second sentence is, he read books and they helped him learn about the world. Here there's actually no ambiguity. Because this is plural, it's referring to something back here that is also plural, and he is not plural, only books is plural. So we know he read books and the books helped him learn about the world. In Greek, this they would instead be sort of like a hoi de kind of thing, an article plus de, and then the rest of the clause. But in English, again, we can't do that. We need the pronoun. Our final sentence is, they do not wish to be seen with MSU fans. Notice there's only actually one clause here. This they, we don't know who this is. It's a mystery right now. If you were reading something, then presumably you would figure out who they were by having read stuff from before. Again, though, in Greek, you can actually start a whole sentence, even a sentence that only has one clause, with a hoi de, as long as there was some reason that you know who the hoi are referring to. Here are a few more examples in Greek. We have tous politas pethusi phulatein tous oikus toiste ou chradion. This means they convinced the citizens to guard the houses, or probably their houses, but it was not easy for them. This is a little bit of a different kind of example because this tois and this article is not going to be the subject of its clause. But it still refers back to something that happened up here. So we have to figure out, is it the they that is doing the convincing, or is it the citizens that are being convinced, or is it the oikus, the houses, that are being guarded? Since we're saying it was not easy for them, it's probably not the houses. Like, it was not easy for the houses to do something. And since we're probably gapping the phulatein, in other words, it was not easy to guard, we're looking at for the people who are being convinced to guard, namely the citizens. Our second sentence is ton auturgon timomen ha de uchora. This means we honor the farmer, but he does not see. Here there's really no ambiguity about who the ha, the article, is referring to, because we only have two sort of nouny things in the first part of the sentence. We honor, that's plural, and tanau turgon, the farmer. Since this is singular, it must refer back to the singular thing. So the farmer does not see. Finally, ha papos ton anthropon kale, ha delege. This means the grandfather calls the person, and he says, or talks, or says something. So here again, we have some ambiguity about who the ha refers back to. Is it the papos or the anthropon? And our real-world knowledge tells us that it's probably the anthropon. It's not that the grandfather calls the man and the grandfather talks. Go ahead and take this opportunity to get some practice. What I want you to do is to translate these sentences. I'm going to give you a few seconds before I put the answers up on the screen. So go ahead and pause the video now.